La Rumorosa. It's a town that is around 45 miles west of this city, and the highway to it is well known from its deaths over the years. Despite its advances on safety, you still have to be a bit careful. That was my friend Adrian said while we were eating tacos in our favorite restaurant next to a boulevard. I have heard about these places, but I didn't have the chance to be there, let alone drive. Instead, my parents and I would drive the US side on the Interstate 8 to San Diego. I tell you that cause after that, we're going there. Let's see who's the fastest one. I'll give you $1,000 if you beat me and I special. You? I was a bit in shock, but I had to accept the offer, since street racing is the only way I would win my money. I have no job, maybe won't have, as I dropped out from college after 2 semesters. The confidence got me and accepted it. I had followed the Acura Integra of my friend Adrian, and on the boulevard it was surprisingly us, with very few cars to be at 11 in the night. Maybe because next day is Wednesday. We did some bits of racing and we approached to the end of the city and went 20 over the speed limit when leaving it. My body was filled with adrenaline and was going like nuts, all until I saw a big line of trucks. Fortunately, they were only using the right lane, but I was suspecting they were going almost at stop, and I was right. As the further I went, the slower we were going, and the building was getting closer. I then realized that the trucks were on a line, and then some buses, and finally some cars like us. I began to get anxious after knowing it was a military post. In spite of all, I held my nerves, and the soldiers made a gesture of good to go. I got calm, and then we stopped into a rest area next to the spot. You know what? I go first. Wish me luck, although you might beat me because mine's an automatic and yours is a manual, or maybe horsepower's the thing. One question. Do I start the timer? Oh, thank you for reminding me. Yes. Do it right after I enter the highway and stop it right after I exit the highway. I'll do the same dynamic with you when you go for the lap. He was already inside the car, and the engine was too loud for a 4-cylinder. Maybe it got modified. Still, sounded great after accelerating and left the station. I started the timer as he told me, but it was nerve-wracking. What if he's faster by horsepower and I have no chance to beat him? That made me anxious, and I couldn't move my body due to the shaking I was having. Also, these cold temperatures I'm not used to is getting me. I decided to wait him inside my Civic, which, despite having less horsepower, it had a manual, and also I had better skill on the wheel than him. Unfortunately, I had my heater taken away in order to reduce weight. Still, it was less cold than outside. Eventually, one light was getting closer, but not only that, it was loud, and I suspect it was him who was exiting the highway. So I stopped the timer at 34 minutes and 6 seconds. Luckily, it was him, and parked next to me on the left and gave me 60 pesos. This is for the 2 tolls, 30 pesos each. Good luck! I took that money, and that's when my nerves began to get me. Still, I was committed to go for the fast lap and entered the highway, pressing the throttle flat out, the tires screeching a bit and shifted gears as I was street racing. Couldn't go confidently fast, as many corners were blind, and I was afraid that I'd encounter a truck and crash into it. My heart was pumping deep and my hands were shaking, not being able to pull this corner smoothly, and it had consequences, as I had to correct the car a dozen of occasions and airline a few times. A few of them were close calls as I swerved through cars and semis. As I climbed the mountain, it was all the same near-death situation. And then I felt a massive oversteer that I couldn't correct. My eyes were the most open as I was going to crash into the guardrail and fly into the pit. To my well, I steered to the opposite direction I was, and it went there as I was mere inches into the barrier. It looked like I hit an icy part. The downhill felt scarier, as it is where braking is less predictable, and these conditions didn't help. Still, that didn't stop me to go fast and start to get nervous as I exited the highway and parked my car. Adrian went to me and gave me $1,000. I was blessed and told me that I set the time of 33 minutes and 56 seconds. I will call my day and go to my home until Adrian impedes me to get out by blocking. Before you go, you gotta know a man that did maybe your big challenge. His name is Alan. This is my friend Solomon. They shake hands. Nice to meet you, Solomon. I don't know, but maybe I have a way faster car than you. So just because it's your first time challenging me, it'll be no rewards, no punishment. Yeah, no balls, my friend. Yeah, no balls. Getting the hang of it, so I accepted, and immediately my heart pumped fast. Alan got into his car, which looked like a modified Accord from the 90s. The car roared like 4-cylinder, making my nerves not go higher. As soon as he left the station, I started the timer and I was waiting. Minutes passed. To my surprise, the roaring engine was heard too early and the timer was in the 29 minutes. The heartbeat was deep and it beat deeper every time the car was nearing the station. I couldn't believe it was him making a lap under 30 minutes. With these tough conditions, sure I can't do it. To my regret, I went for an attempt to set a better time, thinking it was barely possible. I'd go expecting to have no traffic, but exiting these blind corners like that can be deadly, as trucks would appear out of nowhere and would have no time to react. I was going decent and passed through the toll booths with hopes of beating him, and the downhill section was tricky as the ice and the speed I get carried by the downhill made braking a bit more difficult to execute with excellence. Meanwhile, Adrian and Alan were waiting and wait. They started more worried as time was nearing 1:30 in the morning, and it got past that, and still no Civic entering the station. It went south as the police and the ambulances were rushing west to the mountains in the eastbound lanes. They immediately got into their cars and followed the emergency vehicles, no matter if they were in the wrong way. Soon they will find these tire markings that I left after I almost crashed into a semi, veering to the left after exiting a right-hand corner, which continued until the shoulder. I couldn't veer back to the right and went into the pit, being crushed by the rocks. All because they said no balls.